What is good, everybody? Welcome back to Jim Dropper Sports. I'm your host, Shanti Stewart, and today we're talking about the College Football Playoff Semifinals. Let's get into it.
Keep those eyes downfield.
Lock my phone, put it back down, let's try it again in the morning, bro.
I don't want it to jeopardize how you know what I'm saying? Because you are in phase.
I think we got the news that Tonka is staying. Thank God, finally some good news.
So in our first matchup, being Ole Miss versus Miami, this game was everything I thought we could ask for. This was what you want the college football playoff to look like. This is what it's all about. You had a great storyline at Ole Miss, right? Losing your head coach, quarterback that came from a D2 school, getting his opportunity to now start, has guided you throughout the season, has helped guide you through these playoffs. Big win over Georgia, obviously dominating Tulane in the first round, getting your opportunity to face up against a Miami team that I think everyone feels like at this point is playing some of the best ball in the nation. And you get a chance to go up against them, go toe to toe. And they did exactly that. This game it was a mixture, right? Because ultimately I thought that Ole Miss's defense did maybe overperform in some spots, right? I thought they gave their offense a lot of chances to take the lead, take over the game, and a lot of times it just didn't happen. And that's credit to that Miami defense, of course. And at the end, what you saw was the unit that's been a problem for you all year was the problem for you at the end. You allow Miami to go down and drive it, to go score, to go win the game. You had a chance there at the end. Well, I will say, before we move forward, that call, that non-call at the end of the game, you have to make that call. There is no way you let a play like that happen with a season on the line. I know what y'all are usually taught to do. They don't call pass interference on Hail Marys. I get it. That instance, that was not two players hand fighting. That was a defender grabbing a receiver, hand inside the shoulder pad, pulling him, and you didn't call it. That's a failure on the operation there by the referees. No questions about it. There is no explanation you can give me. There is no right answer you're going to give me other than we messed up. We should have called it. That's the only thing I want to hear. And it is so sickening hearing other ESPN employees act as if that was the right thing to do. Man, if you don't have a backbone to call it how it is, this is why fans are getting irritated with traditional media. Because you sit there and you just spout company man BS. This bootlicking BS is what you're giving to us, and we're not rolling. I'm not rolling. I don't know if everybody is rolling, but I ain't rolling. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now moving forward, this game was a great game, ultimately. But like I said, it still ended up with Mississippi and their woes still costing them at the end of that game. And then I look over to Miami and I say, I have more questions about you than I have answers, right? I feel like it's a great story, right? Like, so we talked about stories. Ole Miss losing the head coach, D2 quarterback gets a chance to start, takes his team, almost to the precipice of the promised land. Then you have Miami, who faltered in the middle of the season, didn't know whether they were going to make it or not. They make it. They ultimately get the chance to play for it all. They start to sharpen up, and they beat one of the teams that we all thought would be a juggernaut in these playoffs in Ohio State, en route to making it to the national title game, which just so happens to be in their home stadium. Can you write this any better? Can you write that story any better than playing the national title game in your home stadium? Look, it's a great story for sure, but one thing that I did see is that if you struggle with Ole Miss, and this is what worries me, if you struggle with that Ole Miss offense, and you think you're going to play Indiana, and you're going to find a way to dominate, I don't like those odds. I just don't like the odds of that. But before I get into that defense, man, just talk about Carson Beck. It's just, I see why you lost 2 games. And I know why you lost the 2 games, because his play can just wildly swing, and he isn't. I think he's a high floor, low ceiling guy, right? Like, I don't think he's definitely not the worst from just a base level perspective. He's not the worst you're going to be able to do at the position, but also I don't think he's the best you can do either. The thing you can do better, I think that his age and the amount of games he's played ultimately makes him better than others, makes him a better option than others, but I don't think it makes him an overall better player. Carson Beck, to me, dog, is just, do I genuinely think he's going to be able to go up against that Indiana defense and put forth the performance that can win you a national title? Hell no. Absolutely not. Because I saw you have struggled against Mississippi. And that's a defense that has been porous all year. So I don't think you're going to be able to do it against Indiana. I do think you've maximized what you can be. It's going to take that defense winning that game for you. I don't believe you're getting 30 points out of that Miami offense. Hell, I don't even know if you get 20. It's going to take that defense creating problems for Fernando Mendoza. That's ultimately what it's going to be. Ruben Bain, Messador, Keontae Scott, that secondary, you're going to have to be at your best in that one. And I'll be honest, man, I just left that game with more questions about Miami than I would have liked. I enjoyed the game, but the reality is I just didn't see a team that I think can go up against that group over there and go win it. Now, I would say let's talk about the Indiana versus Oregon game. But that would imply that there was a game to be watched to then break down to talk about. That was not a game. That was a demolition. I got my answer pretty quickly about how I feel about Indiana. And it rectified every single doubt that I had earlier about the long layoff. The difference between this Indiana team is this. There's a lot of differences between Indiana and the rest of the field. But let's get it. But let's talk. Look, man, Indiana forces you to play perfect. They force you to play a high level brand of football that I just don't believe any team in the nation is capable of playing this season. They just don't have the guys for it. And it's a difference in how you have to build these rosters in today's game compared to yesteryear, right? Like in years past, it would simply just be go get the best talent, go get all the 5 stars out of high school, build those guys up, develop them, and voila, there you go. Bam. That's it. Like, that's how Bama did it. Bama consistently stacked 5 stars on 5 stars, had guys waiting in the wings, high level talent that's developing behind other high level talent, ultimately breed success. Our 2s are better than your 1s. Our 3s are better than your 2s. That's how we end up forming a dynasty here at that university, right? Indiana's done it the opposite way. Now with the transfer portal, NIL, and everything being a thing, what Kurt Signetti has done is flip the script. I go the opposite way. I'm going to go get the guy that was a 2-3 star coming out of high school, been at a program for maybe 3 or 4 years already, maybe been to another program or 2 in between that, is about 22 to 23 years old. And I'm going to build a roster with those guys. A lot of OGs, a lot of veterans that have played the game, that have developed their minds, developed their bodies, and developed their mental. I said minds already, but have developed in every facet of the game that makes you a great player. And we're going to put them on the field. So when we look at the roster counts and we look at how many 5 stars Oregon had compared to how many 5 stars Indiana had, look, these guys were not 5 stars coming out of high school, but they've worked themselves into that spot. And that's the thing. When you got guys that have been workers, these guys have really grinded to make themselves into solid players that can potentially play at the next level, then yes, you formed a great team. One that isn't going to be flashy, of course. There isn't a superstar on that team. I don't even think the quarterback is a superstar, just based on what we deem as a superstar. But they're a great unit. They get the job done. They're consistent. What you can expect out of a 21, 22, 23-year-old compared to an 18, 19, 20-year-old is different. I expect knuckleheadedness out of an 18 to 20-year-old. I expect you to be more of a grown man from ages 21 to 23. You've grown up some. And if you've been in college for this long, you've also seen the inner workings of a program. You know how it goes. You know the work. You know what it takes. So building this team how they've done it is the new way in the portal. I mean, I've seen other teams do it as well, and that's ultimately how it's gonna have to go. At least early on. This is the environment that transfer portal and NIL have fostered. And see, I don't think these guys are that expensive either. Call me crazy. I don't think that paying some of those guys that they got is that expensive compared to some other teams in their payroll. I look at LSU's payroll. LSU ain't getting nowhere near the amount of work out of their payroll that Indiana getting. So it's about how you spend your money as well. It's about how you go about doing it. Man, Kurt Signetti is one of them. He's a special guy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's a special guy at the position. And I don't know, everybody won't be able to duplicate what he's doing. Right? Everybody won't be able to evaluate the talent that he's doing at the level he's doing it either. Ultimately, man, I mean, look, I'm probably going to make a TikTok just to post and just to say who's going to win the game. But y'all know who I'm rolling with, bro. I'm rolling with IU, man. Give me them Indianimals. Give me them Indianimals. I'm taking Indiana to win this one, dog. This ain't really a debate for me at all, man. Again, credit to what they've done. That team is just, they play at so much of a high level that it's too much. It's intense. It feels like, yeah, I know that the announcers kept saying this on the game. I know they kept getting the comparison to LSU. And I'll say where I agree is that when you played 2019 LSU, it felt immense. It felt like an avalanche. It felt like once one thing goes wrong, everything's going to go wrong. No matter how good we are, how talented we are, everything's going to falter from that point forward. And with Indiana, because they play at such a high level consistently and they force you to be at your best, that's what it feels like. See, they're not otherworldly talented and just beating you with pure talent. They're beating you with precision. Very militant like. Force you to be perfect. And as soon as you make a mistake, boy, do they make you pay. They make you pay for it in every single sense of the word. You gotta pay. And it's a level of intensity I think stems from the head coach and who he is and his personality. And that has, it's festered into that team, and they're now playing with a level of intensity I don't think anybody has an answer for. But with that being said, this has been Gem Dropper Sports. I'm your host, Shanti Stewart, and I'm out.